No, this is not the psychology video that I said I was gonna do. That's still coming. No, this is story time. For about a week or so, I've been sitting here thinking, should I say something? Should I not say something? Should I mind my business? Should I chime in? And finally decided I'll do this much. A couple years ago, I was watching videos online around 2015-ish, something like that, maybe early 2015. I can't pinpoint the date exactly. I wasn't online that much, but I did take a liking to these videos I saw. These videos about hair hats and beasties. I would see them in like 3 or 4 minute like clips. They would pop up here and there, and I thought they were funny. I liked the song in the beginning and the end, and the stories that were told were interesting. Because at the time, I had myself had a problem with hair weaves. It's not a preference of mine. To this day, I don't understand why women wear them. But that's their thing. I don't get it. I prefer a woman's natural hair all the way, whether you're wearing an afro or whether you go bald. Black women especially are in a unique position where they can shave their heads bald and look just fine and still gorgeous. If you look at two examples, Britney Spears and Sinead O'Connor, they both shaved their heads, and the media labeled them both as crazy. And they did look kind of crazy, shaving their heads like that. But then you look at black women like Lupita and Danae, I think her name is Danae Guerrero or something like that. She's from The Walking Dead. She plays Michonne, and she's also in Black Panther. She plays his main bodyguard. They shave their heads, and they both look amazing. But that's neither here nor there. I think if you're gonna grow your hair into an afro or whatever style you're gonna do, it takes time to manage in the morning. I get it. If you can't deal with that, shave it off or cut it low or put it in braids or something. I don't see the point of slapping someone else's hair on your head. But you know what? It's your money. It's your head. You can put whatever you want on it. That's getting off track though. But that was the allure that pulled me in to the YouTuber who goes by the name of Tommy Sotomayor. I began to watch him a little more frequently in 2015 when he got into some sort of a beef with a woman who worked at Progressive who went by the screen name Controller. This woman had threatened his daughter, and I felt for the guy. I didn't think it was right that his daughter should be threatened by this woman, and he went on a crusade to find out who she was, her name, and where she worked, and have her fired. I didn't blame him for that. I thought it might have been the right thing to do at the time. But thinking from the space that I'm currently in, I have to wonder, something I never figured out in that time was what precipitated the entire incident. What was the initial interaction between Tommy Sotomayor and Controller to make them start throwing threats at each other and trying to get one another fired or whatever. I never got the entire story. I only saw one side of it. It was a Twitter message or a Facebook message or something like that she said that she was going to cause bodily harm to Tommy's daughter. So after that, I began listening a little bit more. I think I caught my first live show, mid 2015 or late 2015, I'm not sure. I, since that time, have seen lots of beefs, but again, I only got one side of the story because I wasn't online that much, and I really wasn't going to any other shows or platforms watching anything else. I would watch Cop Watch videos and the Young Turks, politics. I'm big into politics and social justice and a lot of other things like that. But I didn't go to the other YouTubers, the Clifton Rainies and the Vic Damones and the who's that other guy that Vic liked? Tyrone Thompson. I wasn't really aware of any of those other guys. I did become aware of Vic Damone when he repeatedly tried to call or chat in Tommy's chat room and was blocked. And I noticed each time it would usually be something to the extent of him trying to apologize, trying to squash the beef, trying to talk to Tommy, but Tommy was not talking to this guy. So I'm like, who the heck is this guy? He keeps coming to apologize. And I thought, that was a pretty admirable thing to do. So I went and I checked. I lurked in his stream, watched what the guy was doing, heard what he was saying, and he was legitimately trying to squash the beef, but he couldn't find a way to talk to Tommy. So I kind of hung out in his chat. I talked with his people. They of course hated me because I was a Soto Nation guy. But it wasn't all that bad. I suffered the slings and arrows and eventually became cool with quite a few of them. Somewhere down the road, a guy called True Freeman comes in. True Freeman ended up attacking Tommy, and he also ended up attacking Vic. So it only made sense that the two of them eventually would team up. So I saw other people, found other people going up against True Freeman. It was like this big coalition all going against this guy who had been attacking children and making horrible videos threatening people, blah blah blah. You guys know the deal, what he does. And everybody was helping Tommy and Vic protect their kids and other people. Everybody was getting along for the most part. I mean, you always have your little infighting here and there, but for the most part, people were getting along. Then it all starts to fall apart. Then came the Nat B incident. There was this whole dispute over wrenches. Everybody in everybody's chat had wrenches. If you were part of the team, you had a wrench. It was one, a way of saying, you're cool with us, and two, a way of identifying the clones from the real people. If somebody came into Nat B's chat or Vic Damone's chat under a name that was familiar to us but didn't have a wrench, well, obviously, that person was a clone. Then it became kind of too much, as people, kind of like the Stanford University experiment, people kind of went crazy over these wrenches, and they were just blocking everyone who came in the chat without reason, just people that they had the slightest beef with, no conversation, they just get blocked. It was beginning to be a bit much. So Nat B took all of the wrenches off of his channel. All the wrenches gone. Tommy came into Nat's channel, into his chat room, and noticed that he didn't have a wrench. He made a comment. The comment was, where's my wrench? Or something to that extent. I believe it was, where's my wrench? Or how come I don't have a wrench? Something like that. Nat's response was, I'm kind of being a little more careful with my wrenches right now. People are going to have to just wait, and I'll be a little more selective when I give them out. Well, to this, Tommy got upset. He left the chat room. He went to his channel. He started a live, and he said that basically Nat B would not exist without him, and he had I'm paraphrasing, and he had the nerve to deny him a wrench when basically Tommy created him. He then laid down the law that anyone in his chat room that goes over to Nat B's channel is no longer welcome in his channel, that he would block them immediately. I heard this and I'm like, that's kind of dumb. I didn't agree with that at all. I dare say, offended by it, that someone would try to dictate my and other people's movements, like where we could and couldn't chat. At that point, I just went ahead and unsubscribed. I unsubscribed with all of my accounts, all of which have the same name, as most of you have seen. I went ahead and unsubscribed from all of his channels. That Nat B incident sparked off the candy incident. The candy incident sparked off the original Lady La incident, as they were all kind of in the same chat room. They were all kind of grouped together. They were all very cordial, very friendly with each other at one point in time. But because they were friendly with each other, and Tommy had a problem with one, he ended up having a problem with all of them. So anybody that was over in those chat rooms eventually got the end of some sort of beef. Vic, who was still partnered, for lack of a better word, with Tommy in this campaign against True Freeman, was also being, I don't want to say attacked, but he was definitely getting slick dissed by Tommy. Several comments having to do with his house and his rug, and all sorts of things about his wife. All sorts of slick disses. Vic did see them, and I even commented one day in his chat that it takes a lot of strength for him to not say anything back for the sake of keeping the peace. I thought that was very courageous of him. He always says that he's a Jesus guy, and he sat back for a year, an entire year, getting slick dissed and not responding in the just to try and keep the peace. That was admirable. Shortly after that came the sun-grown incident. Now, mind you, all this other previous stuff has already happened. I've already unsubscribed. I generally didn't go over there. I watched less and less of what he was doing. I even went so far at one point is to click this one button every time his videos came up on my recommendations. There's a button there that says not interested, and I discovered that if you click that button for about 2 weeks, every time a video pops up, his videos get knocked out of your algorithm and you don't see them anymore, which was really cool. I wasn't watching anything. So so back to the sun-grown incident. Sungrown had left a comment in Covert Radio's chat. It was a simple comment. I can't really remember what it was, but it was very simple. It was harmless. Something to the extent of hi, although it wasn't exactly hi. It was a very harmless 1 to 2 word comment that was left in his channel. He was chastised for leaving this comment in the chat room. And I'm like, wow, this guy didn't really do anything. Later on, there was a second incident where, they knew True Freeman was watching Sungrown's chat. He was watching, and he was counting up the donations he was getting. So we put together this prank to make it seem like Sungrown got a large amount of money. I forgot how much we were saying it was. I think it was like $300 or something like that. We were pretending that he got a $300 donation, so Tyra, who we knew would be pocket watching, would make a comment about it or a video about it and get upset. But that's not what happened. Tyra didn't get upset, and he didn't make a video on it. what happened actually was pretty shocking. Tyra did not make a video, but Tommy did. He said something to the extent of people are making money off of him, and no one is allowed to go into Sungrown's chat room. Anyone found in Sungrown's chat room would be blocked and is no longer welcome in Tommy's chat room. So there we are with that again. It was becoming an all too familiar dance. Time goes on, and several incidents happen here and there. There are more beefs and things going on. I'm generally ignoring them. I'm focused on my mission of getting rid of True Freeman, seeing as he was a problem for both Tommy and Vic, as well as other people who had children, like Benevolent Flower and a lot of other people. They were just having trouble. So that was the goal. The goal was to get rid of Freeman. Single-minded, one focus, kind of like a Cyclops. Tunnel vision on one objective. But another incident pops up, and this was the breaking point. At least it was for me. Two mods from Tommy's chat room, and of course, mods were pretty much the same people between Tommy, Vic, Sungrown, Chucky, Nat, all the same people, generally speaking, were mods in everyone's channel because, again, at one point we were all friends, we were all cordial, so of course the same solid people would have wrenches because you could trust them in all of these chats. Chassie and Carrie were over in Chucky's chat room, and Chucky, as he normally does, shouts out everybody in his chat room that's down with him. He shouts out everybody who donates. You know, he really puts out his appreciation for them. Why this day, as opposed to any other day, Tommy thought this was an abnormal thing is beyond me. He got upset. He spoke to Chassie and Carrie and told them that he didn't think Chucky should be shouting them out. Some excuse. Well, they had a discussion over that, and the whole thing blew up. It ended up with Tommy taking away Chassie and Carrie's wrenches, calling them all sorts of names, and getting into a big beef with them. Chucky was upset by this, that the two of them were called out for no reason, and they had a discussion. And Vic was upset by this, that supporters who had been loyal the entire time were called out for basically donating $20 out of the $100 that they were giving to Tommy. They gave it to Chucky. Like 20% of their donations were going to Chucky. So Vic went off, and to me, that was the last straw. It was just like, he treats all these people like crap. All of these people who go out of their way to help him, to donate, to defend him against people who are perceived threats to his channel, his livelihood, his family. Chassie even went so far as to help him set up a GoFundMe in her name after his GoFundMes were knocked down by True Freeman. These people were going out of their way, bending over backwards to try and help, to do a good deed. Even myself, I tried to help with the legal efforts of getting True Freeman off Tommy's back and other people's back. There were some ways that were legal, and there's some other ways that were illegal that we were trying to go about getting rid of him. Bottom line, we were all trying to do something to help this man. And he went off on them. Again, that was the last straw for me. I made a comment about how he treated his people. I think my exact words were something to the extent of he treats people like condoms, uses them, and then throws them away when he's done. And I know he saw this. But you also have to figure that for about a year and a half period, almost 2 year period, I had already been upset with the way he was dealing with his people. I hadn't said anything. He had this thing about people who were leaving his chat room. Don't announce it, just go. So that's what I did. I just unsubscribed and moved on. I didn't announce it. I didn't say anything. It was like a year and a half, a little over a year and a half, and I never said a word. I was just hanging out in Vic chat. You know, we were doing our thing and whatever. Until that day, then I was vocal about it. So he sees that, and that's when, in retaliation, my email was put out to his audience and to any other trolls. Thankfully, you guys didn't even bother to use it. I'm pretty sure you saw it. It was there right in front of your face as he was reading the emails. But nobody actually went ahead and sent me any hate mail or anything. I think that was pretty cool. So I respect a lot of you guys for having the restraint of not forcing me to block a whole bunch of incoming emails. Anyway, again, my email was put out and I was labeled a villain because I was also cordial with a lot of the people who spoke out against him. Now, these people, in my eyes, hadn't done anything. Yeah, they might say a word or two here and there about things that he may or may not have done. You know, they were pointing out some things that they thought were hypocrisies. I didn't necessarily see it at the time, but as far as I knew, these people hadn't done anything that made it so I couldn't actually talk to them. And in talking to them, they weren't bad people. And in the case of some people, I had even seen what happened to them from the beginning and knew that they did nothing wrong. So, after I was labeled the villain, I tried to talk to Lady La, and I was mocked by her and other people for spelling errors that were done hastily in a comment section. I was ignored in a live chat when trying to explain my side of the whole thing, and I was even down low threatened to have my sister and me doxed. Now, that was pretty much the last straw for me. I wasn't gonna go at it with this woman, and I had already kind of changed or turned over a new leaf because the doxing had gotten so bad in this sector with people like Benevolent Flowers and her mother being harassed, and Black Nefertiti having to move and her mother being harassed, and other people who were just being really negatively affected by the doxing. So I had kind of turned over a new leaf, and I was trying to be a kinder, gentler demon. And I just wanted to explain my side to Lady La about, what was going on. So I'm like, I'm just not going to deal with it. I'm going to forget the whole deal. Just do me. Now, my point in saying all this is not to continue a beef or to say someone is a bad person or you should go with a person or point the finger or say, hey, that was some pretty crappy stuff you did. That's not my point. That stuff is water under the bridge. I could really care less about the bulk of that. My point is that Tommy did some stuff that I didn't like. I eventually spoke out. The narrative was changed that I was conspiring against him. This was done publicly for a group of people who had only seen one side of the story, his side. And he used his mods to legitimize his claims. That whole tell me if I'm lying thing, and nobody really speaks out against them. And anyone who does kind of question, it gets like run around in like a hypothetical circle. Analogies start coming out, some deflections start coming out, and really if you don't agree, you're going to lose your wrench and you're going to be mocked and banned and thrown out and all kinds of other stuff. So Lady La was cordial with Uncle Suge. Granted, she pointed out that Uncle Suge was streaming his stuff, and Tommy didn't like the fact that she was cordial with him and she was trying to actually talk to the guy after the whole incident. After the Uncle Suge incident, I think it was like a week later, he went ahead and told the carpet story in an effort to try and embarrass Lady La. That was the whole point. I mean, if it was just a matter of hanging out with Uncle Suge, he probably would have or should have stuck on the fact that she was hanging out with Uncle Suge and just kind of left it at that. Nope, he went someplace else and told the carpet story that had happened months prior. As retaliation for that, Lady La then released the sex texts and sold her recollection of the smell of his basement. You may have seen the song, "Downstairs smells like cat ass." So I've heard. I got no proof either way. Anyway, he then changed the narrative and even threatened a few of his mods, saying that the mods would lose their wrenches and he'd have to clean house. He had his mods legitimize his story. They came out with opinions and their own accounts to debunk hers. Now she becomes the villain, and several other people who have apparently been in his house are coming forward saying that her story is BS. She's being made to look like a person of low moral standards. She is being made to look like a liar. She is being made to look like a person of questionable loyalty. How much of that I agree with and how much of that I disagree with doesn't really matter at this point. I say all this to say 2 points. To the people hiding underneath alternate accounts, you've changed your names, made these new profiles, just so you can go into another person's chat. Look what you're doing. You're hiding from a man you don't know. A man who does not pay your bills. A man that has zero impact on your life. You sit in his chat room, you make comments. The handful of you that actually do get donations off of being in his chat or performing services for him, it's really not all that much when you look at it at the end of the year. But you sit there in fear for your livelihood at disappointing this person to the point where you won't even speak or go any place, at least not openly, that he does not allow you to. I think that's pretty sad. I used to say that a lot of you guys didn't have your permission slips signed when you would go off into other chats, and it's pretty sad because children have permission slips signed so they can go off on trips. I thought that was, again, pretty sad for an adult to have to do such a thing. To Lady La, I hope you see the irony in all of this and you understand that it's been about 2 months or something like that now, and it's not getting better, it's getting worse, because now, like is done to True Freeman and to Zone, it may be a 1 or 2 hour stream on a completely different topic, but you can guarantee that you're going to be talked about for 10 to 15 minutes somewhere in there, reinforcing the fact to the people that are watching that they are to stay away from you and that they should know that you did him wrong and it wasn't mutual or the other way around. He did nothing wrong, you did everything wrong, and they get one side of that story. I want you to understand that this is how you get your candies, your zones, your Tina D's. This is how all of these people were created. A small thing happened, small, insignificant thing. They were publicly embarrassed for these things. They were mocked for weeks on end about these things and other things, and any little bit of information that he could find out about you, any emails that you may have sent, any donations that you may have sent. Suddenly you're a fan and you weren't getting enough attention, or you wanted to be him, or you're trying to destroy him, or any number of other things that makes you the bad guy, the villain. Think of Jazzy Vogel. I don't even know what she did. I don't even know what happened between the two of them. I do know that he went through her emails publicly and showed her real name, her government name, on screen for the world to see, and all the trolls to go and research and find out who she is, where she lives, and possibly troll her. I know it's not the first time it's happened. I know several phone numbers were put out. Lots of true government names were thrown out there. But again, this is how villains are created. This is how your Zones, your Tina D's, your Candies, and all these other people are created. They were once good people who were trying to help, who thought they were on the right side, who may have stepped on the wrong eggshell at the wrong time, and they were raked across the coals for that one little eggshell. And I hope you now understand why I'm not hostile towards these people. When I first went into Zone's chat room, Zone insisted that I had said a whole bunch of stuff about him, and I was telling him, I was like, no, actually, I've never said any such thing. I've actually never said anything about you. And he finally thought about it, and he said, you know, you're right, that was somebody else. I had never said a word, not one word against Zone. I'd never said one word against Candy. I don't really say much about a lot of people. My words were always directed towards Freeman and his immediate circle. I don't really sustain beefs with anybody outside of that for too long. But again, I really hope you're looking through a different lens right now, and I hope you understand why I'm not hostile with these people, with the Tony, I can't say your last name, man, Tony Condaginas, with anybody like that. The people on Freeman's side, the people on Seven's side, the people on Zone's side. I'm not trying to be hostile with these people, because this is a war where we were all enlisted as soldiers to fight against each other. But if you really look at it, it's really between like two people, and they should be fighting it out. And even if we do jump in and defend here and there, you know, try and debunk a lie, or put up some flyers or, you know, whatever it is that we do, remember, at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to these two people, and when they're gone, the rest of us gotta be cordial with each other, because we've never really done anything to each other. And if this is gonna end at all, it starts with us. It starts with us in Vic's chat or in Tommy's chat, crossing over into Freeman's chat, talking to some of the people over there and being like, hey man, you know, think about the things that you're doing. You know, CPS, it's not cool. You're calling CPS on people, you're really affecting people's lives. And yeah, I'm guilty. I'm just as guilty as anyone else, maybe even more so, of doing a couple of things that I'm not necessarily proud of. But we've all done some pretty shitty things. A lot of us have put that behind us. We're trying to move forward. We're trying to be better people, at least better YouTube people. And you know, squash beefs. We can definitely start from the bottom, squashing beefs. And if the guys at the top don't want to, if they refuse to, as many of them have come out and said that they refuse to talk with person X or person Y, and they want to get into it and they want to battle it out in the streets, I say let them. You know, they're adults. If they want to carry this to their graves, let them. But the rest of us don't have to follow in the same dryer cycle, spinning around in this, doing this whole dance for the rest of our lives. I would just encourage you to talk to some people on the other side, just to see where their head's at, and maybe you can turn some people around. Maybe you can come to an understanding, and maybe you can stop some of the damage being done. And let the primary guys do what they're going to do. If they want to destroy their own lives, if they want to lose their homes, and possibly do whatever to each other, see jail time or whatever, then that's on them. Anyway, this has been a long one, and that is the end of story time. Hopefully you guys can learn something from it.